3 years after getting married. The incident of the daughter of Damon's esteemed teacher being raped came to light and caused a huge stir on the internet. In order to preserve the reputation of her scholarly family, Damon used my social media account without permission to clarify that, in fact, the person who was raped was me. Violet hadn't said anything before because she was trying to protect me. In the face of my questioning, Damon casually said, "Violet is the daughter of my esteemed teacher. Her whole family is from an educated background, and their reputation can't be ruined. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession. You've been raped before. I will compensate you for your grievances with my love. In my previous life, I believed his sweet words, but ended up being raped and killed live streamed across the entire internet. In this life, I threw out the divorce agreement. Be good, don't sleep, I'll carry you to take a bath." I suddenly opened my eyes and saw the firm jawline of Damon. The pain from being stabbed with a knife and the dizziness from excessive blood loss in my previous life had already disappeared. I looked at the calendar on the bedside table and suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Reborn to the time before Damon used my social media account to post that I was the one who had been raped. At this moment, Damon was carefully holding me as if I were some precious treasure in the world. I knew that his long-lost attentiveness and his long-lost attempt to make love to me were just to lower my guard. 5 minutes later, he would personally push me into hell. At that time, while I was taking a bath, he would use the social media account on my phone to post a message: "Ms. Violet is not the victim of the Cherry Park assault case. I am. In the past few days, the innocent Ms. Violet has been suspected and even had her personal information leaked. I'm very sorry. Ms. Violet has never denied being the victim in order to protect me. But I've been selfishly hiding behind her these days and didn't dare to show up. I'm very sorry." It was from the moment this message was sent that my life would completely turn into a tragedy. Just as Damon was about to put me into the bathtub and was about to leave, I hooked my arm around his neck and looked straight into his eyes. "Damon, with soul de manette, do you really love me? If I didn't love you, why would I marry you?" Damon rubbed my hair. His pupils were filled with my reflection, and his gentle gaze was like a net. In my previous life, I was so infatuated with him just because of this. Until I died in my previous life, I thought that he loved me. "Okay. You can go out. I want to take a good bath." Damon walked out of the bathroom without any hesitation. Looking at the closed door, I sneered coldly. "Damon, I hope you won't let me down." A minute later, I wrapped myself in a bath towel and walked out of the bathroom. Damon wasn't in the bedroom. And my phone, which I had originally placed on the bedside table, was also gone. I opened the safe in the bedroom, took out the documents, and walked to the living room. The living room wasn't lit, and the light from the phone shone on Damon's face. He frowned slightly and looked focused. Pop. I turned on the light in the living room. Damon looked up warily, and a flash of panic crossed his eyes. I walked up to him and directly snatched the phone from his hand. It was my phone. The page was still on my social media page, and the message on the page was only half written. "Ms. Violet is not the victim of the Cherry Park assault case. I am. In the past few days, the innocent Ms. Violet has been suspected and even had her personal information leaked. I'm very sorry." I looked at the screen and suddenly burst out laughing. Damon opened his mouth but didn't say anything. I lowered my head, completed this message, and then held the phone in front of him for him to see. "Is this what you wanted to say?" He looked at the message, then looked at me in surprise and hesitation, as if he didn't understand my attitude or why I would know what he was going to write. Once upon a time, every word of this passage was like a knife cutting at me. Damon regained his composure and patiently said to me, "Violet is different from you. My esteemed teacher is a university professor. She was born into a scholarly family, and all her relatives and friends around her are learned and cultured people. She has already been cyber-bullied to the point of getting depression. If this continues, she will die. What about me?" Damon rubbed his brows a bit impatiently. "Anyway, you were raped before, and you managed to get through it, didn't you?" I deleted this unsent message right in front of him. Damon's face darkened. "Be sensible. I don't care if you were violated or not. But the secular gaze will scrutinize Violet. Just think of it as saving her life. You've been wrong this time. And I'll compensate you with more love in the future. I really wanted to question him. Violet would be scrutinized by the secular gaze. Wouldn't I? But suddenly, I felt it was meaningless. I placed the documents I had taken out from the safe in front of Damon. Sign it. When he saw the documents, Damon's calm expression cracked. This document was a divorce agreement. This was the guarantee I gave Damon when we got married. Damon was a poor boy without parents, who was raised by his grandmother who collected waste. Later, my parents sponsored him. He was good-looking, very upright, and indifferent to everyone. However, towards me, he seemed to have a certain sense of responsibility. He liked to discipline me like a teacher and gave me tutoring every Saturday and Sunday. At the age when I was just beginning to have romantic feelings, I fell in love with him. In the following years, I kept trying to follow in his footsteps. Later, we naturally got together, but I could never feel his love and care for me. Before getting married, I even humbly took out the divorce agreement and said that if he ever found the person he loved, I would let him go. At first, our marriage was quite happy. Until 3 years ago, Violet, the daughter of his esteemed teacher, came back. His whole heart began to lean towards Violet. And I had been waiting for him to take out the divorce agreement from the safe. In my previous life, he never mentioned divorce and never took out the divorce agreement from the safe. So I thought that maybe he really had me in his heart. You want a divorce? Damon's voice trembled. And his pupils quivered. Just because I want to save Violet. You want to divorce me? Damon's voice was a bit more stable this time, with paranoia and confusion in his eyes. I lowered my eyes. Don't you want to save Violet? As long as you sign the divorce agreement and we go through the divorce procedures, I'll hold a press conference. Damon got angry. Are you threatening me? Seeing that I didn't speak, Damon's tone became harsher. Don't think that by threatening me with divorce, I'll be soft-hearted. I've already found a way to minimize the harm. Why can't you cooperate with me? I let out a long breath and calmed down for a while. I'm afraid that after the clarification, my reputation will affect your company. So getting a divorce is the best choice for us. Damon obviously let out a sigh of relief, but his tone was still a bit uncertain. You let out a low sigh. Do you really think so? I nodded. Sign it. Seeing my calm expression, Damon picked up the divorce agreement and looked at it for a while. You're going to leave the marriage with nothing? I'll ask the lawyer to rewrite. No need. Just sign it directly. I don't want anything, I said patiently. Having a second chance at life. I just want to completely cut off my relationship with Damon. Don't be willful. I know I wronged you this time. I'll satisfy whatever you want. I just want you to sign it. Seeing my firm attitude, Damon finally compromised and signed the divorce agreement. After signing, Damon always felt an emptiness in his heart. He still wanted to stay with her or for a while longer. But Aurora only left him with a resolute back. Aurora loved him very much and wouldn't leave him easily. This time, her proposal of divorce was just a momentary fit of pique. As long as he coaxed her well later, they would still love each other as before. The next day, Damon and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to go through the procedures. Since both of us had the intention of getting a divorce, we could get divorced without having to wait for the cooling-off period. After getting divorced, I felt a great sense of relief. But as soon as I walked out of the door, I saw Violet waiting outside, wearing very thin clothes. And Damon didn't let me down in my prediction. He quickly took off his coat and put it on her. You've just recovered from a cold. You shouldn't have come here. Your body won't be able to take it. Violet pulled the coat around her and said, Aurora has sacrificed so much for me. I should at least express my gratitude to her. Damon rubbed Violet's head. You're just too sensible. It's only right that she did these things for you. I rolled my eyes silently. It's only right that I did it. What the hell is only right? In my previous life, when I saw such a scene, I would have already had a row with Damon. But now I just want to leave as soon as possible and don't want them to affect my mood. But Violet walked towards me cautiously. obviously not wanting me to leave. I guess she couldn't wait to show off to me. A good dog doesn't block the way. I pushed her away. I don't want to be in the same space as these two scumbags. I feel creepy even staying for one more second. Aurora. Violet pouted, and tears welled up in her eyes. I wronged you this time. You got divorced from Damon because of me. I'm really sorry. I'll ask Damon to compensate you well. Damon came over and pushed me away. Aurora. Why are you so petty? Violet is a patient. She's different from you. She's very fragile. If you have any grievances, just take them out on me. I wasn't going to take this. I raised my hand and slapped Damon across the face. Damon was obviously stunned by my slap and looked at me in disbelief. You bitch. What are you doing? How dare you hit Damon? On the contrary, Violet was so angry that she pounced on me with her claws outstretched. She didn't look like a patient at all. Just as well. I didn't want to indulge her either. I rolled up my sleeves and hit back at her. Soon we were grappling with each other. Violet was pulled by her hair by me and kept wailing. Soon I was pulled away by Damon. He glared at me fiercely. Why are you acting like a rabid dog, biting people everywhere? I know you're angry because of the divorce. Once the storm passes, we'll remarry. Damon. It hurts so much. Please help me and take a look. Damon rushed to care for Violet and didn't look at me again. I touched the corner of my mouth that had been scratched open. After taking a deep breath, I tidied up my clothes and left, although I was injured. After venting my anger, I really felt much better. Following the path of my previous life. After I collected the evidence that Violet had staged the rape herself, I held a press conference. On that day, Damon and Violet also came to the scene. I'm sure everyone wants to know if Violet was raped. I can prove that she wasn't. As soon as I finished speaking, I could clearly feel Damon let out a sigh of relief, and he looked at his phone, gave Violet a few instructions, and then left in a hurry. Violet, on the other hand, walked onto the stage with a weak step, protected by bodyguards, and sat down next to me. Aurora. If Ms. Violet wasn't raped, then who was? Who is the person in the photo? Can you tell us who the person in the photo is? In the face of the reporter's aggressive questions, I glanced at Violet. She was waiting for me to admit it with a complacent look. It was really ridiculous. No one was raped. The person in the photo is indeed Ms. Violet. And the other person is her boyfriend, who she has been dating for many years. It's perfectly normal for a man and a woman to have feelings for each other. Please stop magnifying this matter. However, Violet suddenly stood up and pointed at me. You're talking nonsense. The person in the photo isn't me. Everyone. Don't believe her words. The evidence is here. And I think everyone should be very interested. After saying that, I showed the photos of Violet dating a male model from the club. The male model was quite famous in the club and was quickly recognized by people. So she found a sly boyfriend. No wonder she plays so wildly. It seems that we were also part of your play. Damn it. You two are just made for each other. You really wasted public resources for nothing. There was an uproar at the scene. And everyone was making fun of Violet. In my previous life, I only found out when Violet showed off in front of me on my deathbed. The so-called rape she talked about was a well-acted farce she directed and performed herself, all in order to destroy the relationship between me and Damon. The male model wasn't a rapist either, but her boyfriend who she had been dating for many years. In order to gain Damon's sympathy, she not only slandered the male model as a rapist but also sent him to prison. After I found out, I tried to find the male model and let him reveal the truth of the matter to the public, but the male model was killed in prison. And I didn't find any evidence either. In the end, I died wronged. Fortunately, it's not too late now. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, Violet made a phone call anxiously. Soon, she was taken away by Damon's bodyguards. You've been married to President Damon for 3 years. But he has always protected Ms. Violet. How do you feel about that? We're already divorced. What he does in the future has nothing to do with me. I raised my hand. There was no ring on my ring finger anymore. After the press conference ended, I set off to return to Chai Chang. Back then, in order to follow Damon, I resolutely left home and Hai Cheng and came to Jingxi with him to develop. It was here that he met Violet's family. Violet's father gave Damon an opportunity, making him a new upstart in Jingxi overnight. Over the past 3 years, Damon has always kept in mind the kindness of Violet's father for discovering his talent. Every time Violet had something to ask him for help, he would solve her problems immediately. At the beginning, he would forget our wedding anniversary because of Violet. Later, he became more and more excessive. He even wanted me to reopen my old wounds and admit to the past of being raped because of Violet. I can only blame myself for being blind back then and entrusting my whole life to such a scumbag. Now, no one can hurt me anymore. I received a call from Damon. I guessed that he must have seen the live broadcast and wanted to apologize to me. I pressed the answer button. And before I could say anything, I heard him scold me sharply. Aurora, why don't you consider the consequences at all when you do things? After you made the evidence public, how can Violet live in the future? Her family values their reputation the most. What's the difference between what you did and killing her? I really misjudged you. Where are you now? I'll come and pick you up. Let's go and apologize to Violet. She's trying to commit suicide now. Why are you so unreasonable? I know you've been wronged this time. But Violet was also threatened. So she came up with such a way. As long as you apologize properly this time, we will forgive you. Damon became more and more excited as he spoke, but I didn't have the patience to listen to his nonsense anymore. After hanging up the phone, I blocked all his contact information. The world is finally quiet. Damon is still as despicable as ever. I'm not going to indulge him anymore. As soon as I arrived in Hai Cheng, my family sent someone to pick me up. Aurora is back. She's lost weight. It's all your fault, old man. You insisted on letting her or go out alone. Just thinking about the tough days our daughter had outside makes me feel heartbroken. My mother shed tears of distress and held my hand, constantly checking if there was anything wrong with me. There was also a bit more tenderness on my father's usually serious face. It's good that you're back. Stop crying. It's not auspicious. You old man. Mom and Dad. I'm not going anywhere after I'm back this time. I just want to stay with you guys. My parents both showed gratified smiles. They both chose not to mention Damon, afraid that it would make me sad. And I also don't want that scumbag Damon to affect the mood of our family anymore. The kindness of his mentor for discovering his talent is considered a favor. Could it be that the financial support my family gave him, which enabled him to become successful, isn't a favor? He's really good at it. He always talks about the kindness of being discovered, but he completely forgets about the support my family gave him. He's just a real-life ungrateful person. It's disgusting even to mention him. After I got home, I started to take over the family business. My father would introduce me to various important business partners, and the process went smoothly. I heard that a big shot would come from Jingxi to develop an Hai Cheng. As long as we can reach a cooperation with him, the future development of the company will surely be prosperous. That big shot is named Cedric. One of the few prominent figures in Jingxi. He has countless industries under his command and is a genuine noble. Not only does he have a good family background, but he's also very intelligent. As long as he takes a fancy to something for investment, there's no way he won't make a profit. In my previous life, I only heard Damon mention Cedric occasionally. Cedric is a relationship that Damon can't even hope to climb up to. This time, for the cooperation with Cedric, I made full preparations and was determined to succeed. Knowing that Cedric would attend the banquet hosted by the organizer in Hai Cheng on that day, I also arrived early and waited. When I saw Cedric appear, I immediately went up to greet him. Hello. Cedric. Cedric stopped in his tracks, and a look of surprise flashed across his face. Then he made a gesture to me. I understood and nodded, motioning for him to go to the balcony to talk in detail. Tell me, how do you know me? I don't seem to have any impression of you in my memory. Cedric frowned, as if he was trying hard to recall if he had any impression of me. Do you still remember the rape case 10 years ago? I'm the victim. I said it straightforwardly. There was a brief moment of daze on Cedric's face, and he quickly recovered. So it's you. I'm sorry about what happened to you. I'm glad to see that you're doing well. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to you today. Thank you for sending the villain to prison with your own hands. After saying that, I bowed deeply to him to express my most sincere gratitude. In my previous life, Damon offended a big shot. In order to vent his anger, that person kidnapped and raped me, who was always by Damon's side. After that, he even sent me back to Damon. Damon cried and said he would take responsibility for me. At the same time, I hated his weakness and inability to avenge me. Seeing the villain running free, I was so depressed that I suffered from severe depression. From that day on, Damon, who used to be indifferent to me, would stay by my side every day and take meticulous care of me. He would say he loved me every day while looking at my pale face. As long as it was something I wanted, Damon would try his best to satisfy my request. When Damon knelt down and begged me to marry him, I backed off because I was afraid that Damon was marrying me out of guilt. But I can still remember the determined and look on his face when he confessed his love to me at that time. Aurora, I love you. My love has long transcended all constraints. I just want to love you. I hope you can give me a chance. The love words he said at that time were so touching that I was deeply influenced. I gathered my courage and agreed to marry him, but I didn't expect that it would cost me my life. Thinking about it now, it's really ridiculous. Even the most solemn vows are just like that. And Cedric, a stranger I've never met before, after learning that the villain was still at large, he didn't hesitate to sacrifice a lot to send the villain to prison with his own hands. In my previous life, after I learned this news, I always wanted to thank him, but I never had the chance. Now, I have the opportunity, and I want to thank him properly. This is all I should do. Seeing that you're doing well, everything I did before was worth it. Cedric's gentle words made my eyes turn red instantly. A stranger could treat me with such tenderness. But Damon would only keep making empty promises to me. And he never fulfilled them until I died. I can only blame myself for being blind back then and entrusting my whole life to a scumbag. After I told Cedric my thoughts, Cedric thought that my project had great investment potential, and verbally agreed to the intention of cooperation on the spot. Because of my experience in my previous life, I have an accurate grasp of the development trend of the market. But every time I put forward an idea, Cedric could always quickly keep up with my thoughts. I couldn't help but admire his unique vision. He has achieved his current status entirely through his own abilities. What are you thinking about? Why are you in a daze? When I heard this, I looked over. Cedric across from me had already placed the cut steak in front of me. He always had a warm smile on his face, with proper manners and generous speech. For a moment, my heart skipped a beat, and then it suddenly started pounding. A rush of heat suddenly rose to my face. Thank you. After stuttering my thanks, I immediately averted my gaze. I'm actually attracted to Cedric. However, facing such an excellent person like him, it's reasonable for me to be attracted, right? But thinking about my unbearable past, I can only suppress the newly emerging feelings back into my heart. The person as excellent as him is not someone I can dream of having. As long as I can stay by his side, I will feel very satisfied. Aurora, do you know how long I've been looking for you? I didn't expect you to be having a secret rendezvous with a man here. You really never change. You throw yourself at men as soon as you see them. Do you really want everyone to know that you're a liability before you're happy? Violet has been persuading me to come and find you these days. I also forgave you after making a lot of mental preparations. But I didn't expect that you're having a candlelit dinner with another man now. You really disappoint me. Come back with us immediately. I won't hold the past against you. Let's start over. But you have to promise me that you'll never have a secret rendezvous with a man again. Before I could fully digest Damon's words, he was about to come up and pull me. My body instinctively dodged Damon's touch, and I immediately took a few steps back. Don't come any closer. I have nothing to do with you anymore. If you come any closer, I'll call the police. Damon obviously didn't expect me to be so agitated. He was stunned for a while. And he let out a sigh and relaxed his expression. I know I wronged you before. You don't have to apologize to Violet anymore. I've already apologized for you. She has forgiven you. Come back with me. Okay? Damon suppressed his temper and softened his tone to coax me. In the past, as long as he showed the slightest bit of a better attitude, I would have forgiven him without hesitation. But now, I feel nauseated even looking at him for a second. I haven't done anything wrong. And I don't need you to apologize to others on my behalf. If you pester me any further, I'll send you to the police station. This is Hai Chang. And I still have that much power. If you don't want to be on tomorrow's hot search, I suggest you get lost. Upon hearing my words, Damon's face turned red with anger. How dare you threaten me? Aurora, aren't you afraid that I'll never forgive you again? I only found his words, spoken in a fit of rage. Ridiculous. If you have nothing else to do, then leave. Don't disturb my meal. After I finished speaking, I ignored Damon and threw an apologetic look at Cedric. Cedric smiled, indicating his understanding. I don't know if our interaction irritated Damon, but in a desperate attempt, he rushed up to Cedric and tried to hit him. You bastard! Do you know that she's mine? How dare you flirt with her right in front of me? I'll teach you a lesson now and see if you still dare to hit on other people's women in the future. Cedric sidestepped slightly and easily dodged Damon's attack. Then, let out a low sigh. With a backhand move, he subdued Damon. Damon struggled and cursed at the same time. Seeing this, I just thought he was embarrassing himself. Damon, stop making a fool of yourself here. Do you know that you're acting like a rabid dog right now? Damon's face darkened, and while struggling, he said, Aurora, how dare you think I'm embarrassing? When you were slept with like a used shoe, I didn't despise you. I married you and gave you the highest dignity despite the humiliation of being cuckolded, making those who laughed at you envy you instead. You slutty woman. What right do you have to laugh at me? Hearing Damon's humiliating words, my face turned pale. I walked up to him and slapped him several times hard. Damon, how dare you? Get out now. Don't let me see you again. Damon was obviously stunned by my slaps. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. I turned around and left. Although I've been reborn, the incident of being raped has always been a knot in my heart. Even if I don't touch on it, it still lingers in my heart. It's like a wound full of holes. As long as I move even a little, blood will gush out uncontrollably. What's more, what right does he, Damon, have to say such things about me? Didn't I have that kind of experience all because of him? I never expected that in his heart. He would compare me to a pair of worn-out shoes. No wonder he could always hurt me without scruple. It turns out that deep down, he thought I didn't deserve his kindness to me. In the past few years of our marriage, he endured the nausea and showed concern for me every day. It must have been really hard for him. I was walking aimlessly when suddenly a coat was draped over my shoulders. I turned around and saw that Cedric had caught up. I immediately lowered my head. Cedric just helped me put on the coat properly. It's windy. Don't catch a cold. I nodded, feeling a complex mix of emotions in my heart, not knowing how to face Cedric. Just thinking about my disgraceful past, I feel that being with someone like Cedric is a kind of profanity towards him. Aurora, may I call you that? Cedric asked politely. I nodded, but still couldn't raise my head, not knowing what to say to ease the awkwardness. Cedric seemed to reach out and touch my head. Don't pay attention to what he said. Those things aren't your fault. You don't have to live in the past. Move forward. There are many things worth looking forward to in the future waiting for you to explore. You deserve the most beautiful things in this world. I'm not good at expressing myself, but in my heart, you're very wonderful and strong. I admire you very much. Cedric's determined words gave me the courage to slowly raise my head and meet his serious gaze. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. Thank you, Cedric. You're welcome. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me at any time. I'll protect you and won't let anyone bully you. Cedric's expression was as serious as before. When the promise came out of his mouth, it was incredibly touching. Why are you so good to me? I don't deserve you being this good to me. I might misunderstand. My voice got softer and softer, and for a moment, I even thought that Cedric had fallen for me. I was shocked by my own thoughts. How could Cedric possibly like me? I don't know why. But when I see you, I just inexplicably want to be good to you. When I see you being bullied, I want to protect you. Do you find it offensive? If you're uncomfortable, I'll try my best to restrain myself. Cedric said honestly, without showing any sign of backing down. Can you please not avoid me? I just want to be your friend and get to know you better. Hearing Cedric's pleading tone, I finally nodded. Okay. I also want to be your friend, Cedric. It didn't seem to be my imagination. Cedric did have a special feeling for me. But I still can't respond to him now because I have my reservations. If we were to be together casually like this, something would eventually go wrong sooner or later. However, I'm not worried that Cedric will let me down like Dame and did. I believe that Cedric and Damon are two completely different people. I just feel that I still have a lot of messy things to deal with. Starting a new relationship before handling these things properly is unfair to Cedric. After I got back, I received an apology message from an unknown number. Aurora, I was so angry today that I said those things without thinking. That wasn't my true intention. Please forgive me. Okay? You know that I love you very much. No one in this world loves you more than I do. I'll come to Hai Cheng to accompany you as soon as I finish dealing with the matters in Jingxi. Since you like staying in Hai Cheng, I'll stay with you here and won't go anywhere else. Just wait for me. I love you very much. Aurora. After reading the message, I deleted it and blocked the number in one go. Giving a slap and then a sweet date is really in line with Damon's usual style. In the past, for the sake of his own better development, he resolutely decided to go to Jingxi. Even though he knew that all my relatives and friends were in Hai Cheng, he didn't have any misgivings. Once he decided to go to Jingxi, he was determined to go. At that time, I was so infatuated with him that I naturally followed him wherever he went. I left my hometown and followed him to a strange city, starting from scratch and slowly building a home with Damon. At the beginning, Damon always encountered many setbacks in his business. He was always harassed by difficult customers. Every time he was in trouble, he would take me with him to solve the problems. I accompanied him to all kinds of business banquets in order to help him close deals. I even drank so much that I got a gastric perforation. It was only after his career started to take off that I gradually stepped back to the background. At that time, Damon promised me that as soon as the company got better, he would make me the happiest woman in the world. I've been waiting. But what I got was the news that he spent a fortune on Violet. Just because Violet wanted a place as a postgraduate supervisor. Damon immediately invested in the school and became a school director, securing the place for Violet. After that, he took Violet to various banquets, saying that it was his duty to introduce some important people to Violet as a way to repay Violet's father for his kindness. I watched them going in and out together, feeling unhappy in my heart. But I always endured it. Because it wasn't easy for me and Damon to get to where we were. And I didn't want to quarrel over irrelevant people. But my constant tolerance didn't make Damon restrain himself. Instead, he became more and more excessive. When Violet was reported for plagiarizing a thesis, Damon was the first to stand up for Violet, vowing that Violet couldn't have plagiarized. He said that if anyone gossiped behind her back, they would be picking a fight with him, and he would make the rumor mongers pay the price. However, at the same time, when the photos of me accompanying Damon to business deals and attending various banquets were dug out, I was labeled as a socialite on the trending list. I asked Damon to find a public relations team to deal with it. He just said coldly, "Your reputation is already bad enough. It doesn't matter if it gets a little worse. There's no need to waste unnecessary funds on such a trivial matter. And no matter what others say about you, the only person I love is you. Be good. In this world. As long as I love you. That's enough." At that time, I was so stupid that I actually believed Damon's high-sounding words. Now, Damon's sweet words make me feel as disgusted as shit, since he insists on coming to me and asking for trouble. I won't be polite either. The cooperation between the company and Cedric went very smoothly. With the gimmick of the cooperation with Cedric, the company attracted more investments. This situation was a win-win for all of us. And we were all enjoying it. When things go too smoothly, some people can't sit still. Soon, let out a low sigh. I was on the hot search again. The famous scene of the former socialite, in Jingxi flirting with the new noble in Hai Cheng. There were pictures of me having meals with various people. And the means were as dirty as ever. I quickly had someone find out who was behind the release of these photos. As I expected, it was Violet's doing. After having someone collect the evidence, I sued Violet in court. Cedric, however, came to me in a hurry. I've already asked the public relations department to deal with the matter. And it won't have any impact on you. From now on, I'll have someone closely monitor public opinion and won't let you bear these unwarranted stigmas again. This kind of thing will never happen again. Don't be afraid. I'll protect you well. Hearing Cedric's promises, my heart was already deeply touched. I couldn't help but want to hug Cedric, and my body actually did so instinctively. Thank you, Cedric. It turns out that the feeling of being cared for is like this. I really like this feeling. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Cedric tapped my head. Silly girl. This is just the beginning. Why are you so easily moved? If that's the case, I'll feel a strong sense of crisis. Otherwise, if everyone is a little nice to you, won't you just leave with them without a second thought? But I won't give others that chance. I'll be so good to you that you won't even notice the goodness of others. Cedric said, answering his own question. I nodded. I can only see your goodness now. After that, we hugged each other tightly. At this moment, all we could hear was the sound of each other's heartbeats. The intense throbbing was expressing our feelings for each other. On the day of the court session, I attended with Cedric, and Damon was standing beside Violet. When Damon saw Cedric holding my hand, his eyes immediately turned red. He was so angry that he wanted to come over. But he was held back by Violet's crying and whining. Damon, don't leave. I'm scared. I clearly didn't do anything. But Aurora sued me in court. I'm really scared. Now. Besides you, I really have no one else to rely on. Unlike Aurora, there are always men coming and going around her one after another. Damon wiped away Violet's tears. You're different from her. You're so pure. Don't learn from her. After this matter is over, I'll make her apologize to you. Come on. Stop crying. You're almost turning into a little cat with all those tears. You won't look good when you're on camera later. Damon. Violet pretended to be angry and hammered Damon's chest. This is a court. I'm still the defendant. How can you still be in the mood to joke? I'm almost scared to death. Don't be afraid. With me here, no one can hurt you. Damon even said it out loud on purpose. It seemed like he was provoking me, but I didn't even give him a glance. After all, they won't be able to cause trouble for much longer. Your Honor. Jurors, today, I'm standing here to safeguard my reputation and personal dignity. Ms. Violet bribed online trolls and on the internet. After I finished stating my testimony and demands, I submitted the evidence. When it was Violet's turn, she didn't say anything. She just kept crying there, saying that she was wronged. Damon couldn't stand it anymore first. He soothed Violet, who was crying uncontrollably. Then he glared at me fiercely. Aurora, do you have any heart at all? Violet is crying like this. And you still want to sue her? If something really happens to her, even 10 of your lives won't be enough to make up for it. I really didn't expect you to be such a person. Withdraw the lawsuit now and then apologize to Violet. I can pretend that today's incident never happened. Otherwise, don't expect me to forgive you in the future. I don't know where Damon got his confidence from. He always thought that I would kneel and beg him to take me back. He probably still thought that I loved him deeply and couldn't live without him. After all, in the past few years, I did tolerate him quite a lot. It's quite normal for him to have such an illusion. I ignored him. In court, it's the evidence that matters, not the one who cries being in the right. Finally, heading to Feldmeyer. After listening to Violet's series of sophistry, the judge pronounced me the winner of the lawsuit. Violet was also detained for 7 days. I'm not particularly satisfied with this result. After all, Violet has hurt me more than just this once. But there's no need to rush. I'll pay her back slowly. After Violet was locked up, Damon didn't have a moment's rest. He kept sending me messages asking me to issue a letter of forgiveness to release Violet. Perhaps seeing that I didn't pay any attention to him. When I got home, I saw Damon sitting in my living room. He humbled himself, but my parents never gave him a good look. But Damon still had a smile on his face. It was obvious that he was willing to lower himself to the extreme. He really is desperate for Violet. But if he wants to save Violet, why is he pestering my parents? I suddenly became furious. What are you doing here? You're not welcome here. When Damon saw that I was back, he just pretended not to hear me. Aurora is back. He came over and tried to take the coat from my hand. But I dodged him. I specially came here to cook your favorite plain porridge for you this time. Can you forgive me? I know I was wrong. Damon awkwardly withdrew his hand and went to the kitchen on his own to serve the porridge and bring it out. Here. It's not hot anymore. You used to love the plain porridge I cooked. Try it and see if the taste has changed. Damon presented it to me like a treasure, with a look of anticipation on his face. I've never liked plain porridge. Now I hate you. I feel disgusted by anything you touch. I pushed the plain porridge away. If you want to save Violet, you can find other ways. Don't waste your time here. I will never forgive her. Damon's face instantly turned ugly. I've been trying so hard to please you, and you're still not satisfied. If it weren't for you insisting on suing Violet in court, how could she have been arrested? And how could my mentor's family have been stigmatized? Aurora, you used to think of me in every way before. But now you're just annoying me all the time. I work so hard every day just to be able to come to Chai Chang and be with you as soon as possible. But you're just giving me trouble. Why don't you understand me at all? The angrier Damon got, the louder he slapped his hand down and smashed the plain porridge on the ground. It seemed like he had really suffered a great deal of grievance. I watched coldly as he did all this. Can you stop going crazy here? I'm annoyed just by looking at you. Damon obviously didn't expect me to be so heartless. And a look of hurt flashed across his face. He immediately changed his expression to a pitiful one and looked at me. I didn't mean it. I just want us to go back to the way we were before. Aurora, will you forgive me? I held back my disdain. I knew that if I continued to argue with him, he would definitely keep pestering me. Tell me, what do you want? I said straightforwardly. When Damon saw that my expression had softened a lot, he was delighted. I knew you still liked me. I came here this time to ask you to issue a letter of forgiveness to save Violet. You know. She's my mentor's daughter. My mentor's family values their reputation the most. If Violet has any scandal, then the reputation of my mentor's family will be completely ruined. Damon paused for a moment, as if he had been organizing his words for a long time. I don't want to owe Violet anything. You know, I hate owing people favors the most. Otherwise, heading to Philwise, I'll just keep owing people favors endlessly in the future. Such an unequal relationship makes me feel suffocated. I looked at his pained face and just felt a sense of irony. So you want me to pay off the favors you owe? Do you think this is fair to me? What you said is so harsh. Why are we being so clear-cut with each other? You love me, having fulfilled my assertion. So you should sacrifice everything for me. And of course, I'm the same for you. Damon, you're really shameless. You've just lowered my opinion of you even further today. Just because I love you. Should I bear all the hurt that comes with loving you? Your train of thought is really messed up to come up with such a stupid excuse. What's more, I've told you more than once that I don't love you anymore and asked you not to pester me. But you never listen. I won't reason with you anymore now. If you keep pestering me, I'll call the police directly. As for Violet, if you want to save her, find someone else. I will never forgive her in my life. Don't try to get my forgiveness here. After I finished my long speech, I took a deep breath. Aurora, don't say things out of anger. If you don't love me, then I won't be able to find anyone who loves me. He, having fulfilled my obsession, Damon, is really ridiculous. He still thinks that I can't live without him even now. You're simply unreasonable. The angrier I got, the more excited Damon became. I just felt annoyed when I saw that. My father finally couldn't stand it anymore. Damon, My daughter hates you so much now. Don't provoke her anymore. I was polite to you before because my daughter had feelings for you. Now, you're still stubborn. Don't blame me for being ruthless." When Damon heard my father speak harshly to him, a look of disbelief flashed across his face. "Dad, Aurora and I used to quarrel too. But you always tried to reconcile us. This time, I'm begging your Aurora to forgive me. If you don't help me, that's fine. But you're even thinking about breaking us up. What's on your mind? You're really shameless. Our family gave you too much leeway before, which made you fail to recognize your own position. My daughter has been wronged, so of course I'll stand by my daughter. Do you think I'll side with you, an ungrateful person?" My mother directly pointed at his nose and scolded him after hearing his shameless words. Damon's face turned pale, and he frowned. "Aurora, is this how you see me too? Why do you see me like this? We've been through so many things together. No one knows you better than I do. You'll always stay by my side in this life." Before I could speak, Damon started talking to himself and hypnotizing himself. I was completely speechless. For someone like Damon who won't listen to either good or bad advice, saying more to him is just in vain. "The door is over there. If you don't leave, I'll call the police," I said coldly, my patience almost exhausted. At this moment, Damon seemed to realize that my mood was really off. "Aurora, are you angry?" I sneered and gave him a look as if he were an idiot, and then directly took out my phone to call the police. Damon's face suddenly changed, and he tried to come over and snatch my phone. But I dodged him. He lost his balance and his head directly hit the corner of the table. "Blood. I'm bleeding. Aurora." Damon was trying to pretend to be pitiful to win my sympathy. After all, in the past, as soon as he had even a small cut on his body, I would feel extremely heartbroken and immediately take out the first aid kit to bandage him up. Now I just feel disgusted. It was only after the police call got through that Damon stopped his act. "I'm leaving now. I won't let the matter of Violet go. Just you wait and see." I watched him leave with a cold face. Damon cares most about his face. When it really comes down to it, he's a coward. When my parents saw this situation, they blamed each other and regretted sponsoring Damon in the first place. He's really an ungrateful person. I slowly soothed their emotions and was a bit worried that Damon might do something out of line. Later, I was busy dealing with company matters every day and had someone keep an eye on Damon. There was no movement from his side. Only then could I throw myself wholeheartedly into my work. In my previous life, I became a daughter flower living by Damon's side and could only rely on him to live my whole life. His love was like a life-saving pill to me. Extremely precious. He probably also knew that I had no other wish but to keep living by his side. So he hurt me again and again without any bottom line. But now I have my own career and live a different life every day. I also met a boyfriend who dotes on and respects me very much. All of this is a rare happiness for me, and I cherish it more and more. Cedric wants to make our relationship public. He said he wants to give me enough security, but I refused. I know that Cedric loves me and he won't hurt me. In terms of security, he has already given me more than enough. Although we don't show our affection publicly on social media, all his relatives and friends know about my existence. This is completely different from Damon, who only knows how to put on a show. In the end, Damon begged a lot of people but still couldn't save Violet. As soon as Violet came out, she tried to find me, but she was stopped by the people around me. Even in this situation, she still wouldn't give up. She waited for me at my usual routes every day. Now I realize that Violet is somewhat of a psychopath, but I'm not afraid at all. I've already arranged enough bodyguards to protect me. If Violet dares to lay a hand on me, I can send her back to prison right away. However, when Damon saw Violet going crazy, he couldn't sit still and actually got a new phone number to cause trouble for me. As soon as I answered the phone and heard his voice, I immediately hung up. After a while, I received a text message from him. "Aurora, you've really gone too far this time. Can't you just pay some attention to Violet? She's threatening to commit suicide every day now, and the teacher and the others have gotten a lot grayer because of it. I won't let you off so easily this time. Just you wait." I couldn't help but sneer at the content of the text message. I increasingly don't understand what exactly I did that made Damon think he still has the capital to act arrogantly in front of me. I rubbed my aching head and fell into deep thought. What are you thinking about? You're so engrossed. I've stewed some Sydney pear soup for you. Drink it to nourish your body. You've lost weight recently. Coming back to my senses, I saw that Cedric had already served the soup and placed it in front of me. Nothing much. I took a sip of the soup. The faint sweetness combined with the richer aroma of the pears was just to my taste. It's really delicious. I couldn't help but take a few more sips. It really suited my palate. Slow down. There's more. Don't choke. After I finished drinking, Cedric served another bowl and placed it in front of me. I stared at him intently, and the infatuation in my eyes couldn't be hidden. He is not only upright but also gentle and considerate. He also respects my career and takes care of my life. I really like you more and more, Cedric. This sudden confession made Cedric blush instantly. The always composed CEO actually smiled shyly. His reaction was really adorable. I couldn't help but lean in, stood on tiptoe, and pecked his thin lips. He took the initiative, held my head, and kissed me deeply. He only reluctantly let me go when we were almost out of breath. He carefully helped me tidy up my slightly disheveled hair. The reddish corners of his eyes revealed his self-restraint everywhere. If you want. I'm ready. I lay in Cedric's arms, listened to his rapid heartbeat, and said softly. Cedric hugged me tightly, buried his head deeply into my neck, took a deep breath, and then slowly let me go. He tapped the tip of my nose. It's not the right time yet. I haven't prepared well. When I heard that Cedric said he needed to prepare, my mood instantly plummeted to the bottom. Could it be that Cedric minds my past and he needs time to build up his mental preparation? Thinking of this possibility, my mood became even more depressed. Regret coiled around my chest like a viper, making it almost impossible for me to breathe. After a long while, I finally mustered up the courage to speak. Do you mind my past? My voice grew smaller and smaller, and tears couldn't stop streaming down my cheeks. Although the past events weren't caused by me, and I was even the victim, but these things did truly happen to me. I'm sorry that I couldn't give the best version of myself to Cedric. Just thinking that these things might become a barrier between us makes my heart ache. I love Cedric very much, but if he really minds, I think I will take the initiative to give up this relationship. Although I will be very reluctant, I would rather not force him. A person as excellent as him can definitely find someone 1,000 times better than me. At least that person is pure and clean. When Cedric saw me crying, he gently wiped away my tears with a pained expression. He probably knew what I was worried about. After thinking for a while, he hugged me tightly and said, Aurora, rather than your past, I love the present you. When I said I needed to prepare, I meant to prepare well for our first time together, so that we can both have a wonderful memory. I didn't express myself clearly enough, which made you have thoughts of negating yourself. I'm really sorry. He lowered his head and kissed away my tears. I love you, the person you are. I don't care about the past. As long as it's you in the future, that's enough. Listening to Cedric's affectionate confession, my mood couldn't help but improve. I didn't doubt whether what he said was true or false. As long as it's something Cedric said, I will choose to believe it. He has no reason to lie to me. As long as he wants to be with me sincerely, I will give him the same sincere love in return. Cedric. Thank you. Thank you for appearing by my side and accompanying me through the rest of my life. I'm really lucky to have met you in this life. I will love you wholeheartedly. It's my luck to be loved by you. Similarly, I will love you dearly too, Ms. Aurora. Cedric was like a gentleman, looking at me affectionately, but without the slightest overstep. His every gesture made my heart flutter. I think I must have fallen in love. Soon we couldn't help but kiss each other again. Click. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a photo being taken. I opened my eyes and looked over. It was Violet holding up her phone and taking a photo of me. She even proudly waved her phone. Aurora, you're such a promiscuous woman. Now you dare to keep a lover in the office behind Damon's back. Do you think he will still like you as he did before if he sees this photo? As long as he sees the photo, he will definitely not think of you anymore. Then he will be with me and marry me. I fell in love with him the first time I saw him. If you hadn't met him first, he would definitely have fallen in love with me too. After all, although you were married before, every time I had something wrong, he would help me without hesitation and even leave you behind to help me. If you hadn't stolen my place, Damon and I wouldn't have had such a hard time. Just wait to be abandoned, and by Damon. Listening to Violet's rambling words, I just thought she was crazy to be so completely unruly. First of all, Damon and I are already divorced. Now he is just and only my ex-husband. As for what Violet said about Damon caring about me, I have no interest in verifying it anymore because it's not worth it. I don't want to continue to be entangled with Violet. But in order to use her, I finally spoke up. Since you like Damon so much, then you can just get married. Why hasn't he married you yet? In the face of my sarcasm, Violet's face turned red and then pale. After a long while, she finally spoke. If it weren't for you, a promiscuous woman, seducing Damon, he would have married me long ago. He has already bought me a ring. It's a custom-made one. And he really put a lot of thought into it. He designed it himself, which shows his unswerving love for me. Just be jealous. After saying that, she didn't forget to show off the ring in her hand. When I saw the ring, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. Because it was a ring I specifically designed for the love between Damon and me. There were a pair of white doves holding a gold diamond on it, representing pure and flawless love. After designing it, I always asked Damon to have someone customize it. Damon always said yes. But he didn't take any action at all. I originally thought that the ring would only stay on paper and would never be made. But I didn't expect that Damon had already had it designed and given it to Violet. Now, just thinking of the picture of him saying, "He loved me," makes me feel nauseous. Damon really shows his hypocrisy and shamelessness to the fullest. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Violet thought she had hit my sore spot. She left after saying a few harsh words. After a while, I opened my phone and saw the hot topic. The socialite reaches a new low office play below it with the photos of Cedric and me. The photos had been processed, except for my face. The rest had been replaced with nude images. And the content was so explicit that it needed to be censored before being posted. I calmly turned off my phone. It seems that Violet didn't learn her lesson from last time she was sent to prison. Sometimes, getting into the habit of spreading rumors online casually is really not a good thing. After all, she might end up in prison again. Do you want me to ask someone to deal with this? Cedric asked me worriedly. Obviously, hadn't thought why I'd say. He didn't like this news at all. But he still patiently asked me. Just like when Violet insulted me earlier. Although he was very unhappy, he still held back and waited for my instructions. Every detail of this made my heart flutter. No need. This time, I won't let her off so easily like last time. Since she won't learn her lesson, she will still be the same even if she goes to prison again. I tugged at Cedric's hand. I've prepared an even bigger surprise for her. Now all we need to do is wait patiently. Let things develop for a while. And there will always be a result. Okay, I'll do as you say. Cedric smiled indulgently and didn't show any doubt about what I said. Cedric sent me home. As soon as we reached the door, we saw the bodyguard surrounding Damon. Let me go. Do you know who I am? I'm Aurora's husband. If she sees you stopping me like this, she definitely won't let you off. Ah. It hurts. Stop hitting me. You bastards. It hurts. It hurts. But no matter how much Damon cursed, the bodyguards didn't stop beating him. This was because I had specifically instructed them that if they saw Damon again, they shouldn't show him any mercy. The bodyguards took my words to heart. And they deserve praise. Aurora, why does he still say he's your husband? It's so annoying. I really want to beat him up too. Cedric gritted his teeth as he spoke beside me. Hearing this, I kissed Cedric on the lips to comfort him. I've completely broken off the relationship with him. Trust me. I only love you now. Cedric's mouth curved into a smile when he heard my words. Of course I trust you. If I had seen Damon being beaten up before, You would have rushed up to help him. But now, the fact that you look indifferent is enough to prove that you have no feelings for him at all. Have you seen me before? I asked subconsciously. And at the same time, I kept recalling my interactions with Cedric in my mind. But I still couldn't find anything about Cedric. I had only seen him in financial mirrors or TV interviews. Of course I have. I noticed you earlier than you noticed me. But I don't want to tell you yet, because I want to keep it as a surprise and tell you at the right time. Looking at Cedric's mysterious appearance. Although I was curious, I didn't make him continue. I know that when the time is right, as long as he wants to, he will tell me everything. Just thinking that Cedric actually knew me a long time ago made me feel a faint sense of anticipation in my heart. Cedric and I talked in the car for a long time before slowly getting out. At this time, Damon had been beaten half to death by the bodyguards. He was lying on the ground in a sorry state, constantly begging for mercy. The scene was really too unpleasant to look at, and I couldn't bear to stare directly at it. When Damon opened his eyes and saw me, he struggled to get up from the ground. Aurora, you're back. You're not with another man. Tell me the man in the photo is fake. It's fake. The moment Damon was about to touch me, I was protected behind Cedric. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm not fake. Aurora and I are in a relationship. So please stay away from her in the future. If you make me unhappy, I'll make it impossible for you to live in Jingxi. When Damon saw Cedric's face, his eyes wide and even more. Impossible. President Cedric. How could you be with Aurora? Do you know that Aurora was raped? How can you not mind that? Only I can accept her as she is. Flaws and all. Shut up. If you can't speak properly, I don't mind tearing your mouth apart. Cedric grabbed Damon's collar and punched him several times. Scum like you don't deserve her goodness at all. Stay away from us in the future. Or I'll make you pay for it. Damon was beaten until he was delirious. But he was still muttering that I didn't deserve Cedric. Perhaps he thought that by constantly belittling me, Cedric would give up on me. Damon, you're a despicable person in my eyes now. What makes you think I would always stay by the side of a scumbag like you? Is it because you keep belittling me every day? Or because you always treat me as a backup option? I've never been your top priority. To put it bluntly, you think I'm dirty and don't deserve your kindness. Right? No. Aurora, you know that's not what I mean. Damon shook his head anxiously and tried to come over and pull me. I stepped back in disgust. No matter what your purpose is now, you keep showing up in my sight again and again. I told you a long time ago that I have no connection with you anymore. If you bother me again, it won't be as simple as just getting beaten up. There was a flash of hurt in Damon's eyes. Aurora, why do you always say things I don't understand? Can we go back to the way we were before? Let's go back and remarry now. Don't leave me. You clearly promised me before that once the matter with Violet was resolved, we would remarry. You can't go back on your word. I've never promised you to remarry. I have no feelings for you. Just thinking of you now makes me feel sick. I took a few more steps back. Listening to his self-hypnotizing words, I just felt a headache. But Damon didn't plan to let it go and still wanted to come forward and persuade me. Soon, let out a low sigh. With a gesture from Cedric, the bodyguards quickly carried Damon away. Is he always so self-righteous and unwilling to listen to advice? He's crazy. I've been having someone keep an eye on the news online, but I haven't had them intervene. It was only when someone told me that Violet and Damon were going to hold a press conference that I paid attention to this matter. When I opened the live stream, I saw Damon pushing a wheelchair. And in the wheelchair was Violet with a pale face and messy hair. At a glance, it was clear that she had been living a miserable life. When the viewers in the live stream saw Violet's appearance, they all expressed their sympathy. Sure enough, the victim is always the most pitiful one, while the abuser is still flirting with the scumbag. It's hard to disagree. If I see that woman, I'll definitely smash her head. So shameless. How dare someone want a woman like a public bus? Aren't they afraid of getting sick? It's romantic to die under the peony flowers. Don't you think her face looks innocent yet seductive? The experience with her must be great. Bro. You don't have to be so desperate. Health is the most important thing. 11:11 I calmly watched the foul language on the internet. And in the live stream, Damon had now thoughtfully put a cape on Violet. Ms. Aurora slandered our Violet before. After she was raped back then. I married her without holding grudges and shielded her from the rumors. Unexpectedly. Not only did she not show gratitude, but she also deliberately framed Violet, the daughter of my teacher. Everyone knows that Violet is like a dear sister to me. Seeing her being tortured so miserably by Aurora, I'm really heartbroken. I'm willing to provide clues about Aurora's rape. I'm not doing this to hurt her. I just want the truth to be made public, so that everyone can see clearly what kind of person she is. Finally, I hope everyone will stop talking about Violet. Her mental state has been on the verge of collapse. If she's stimulated again, she definitely won't be able to take it. Thank you all. I watched in disbelief as Damon actually took out the clothes that were torn apart after I was raped. The scene kept stimulating my pupils, and the unbearable memories flooded into my brain like a flood. I completely forgot to think. My body was shaking, and my rationality was slowly breaking down. Let go. Let go of me. When Cedric arrived, he saw me huddled in the corner with my hands on my head. And the live stream was still going on. Damon and Violet were colluding with each other, and they were throwing all the blame on me. Don't look. Don't listen. These aren't true. They aren't true. An inexplicable fear rose in my heart. And I was afraid that Cedric would abandon me because of this. The memories of the past attacked me without discrimination, making me extremely vulnerable inside. Cedric quickly turned off the computer and came over to hug me tightly. It's okay. It's all in the past. All of this is over. Don't be afraid. I'll always be by your side. He slowly helped me tidy up my hair, picked me up in a princess gary, and kept comforting me, focusing all his attention on me. Facing his patient care, I was torn inside, and guilt kept welling up. I really hate Damon and the others. They actually opened my wounds in public for their own selfish desires. I will definitely make them pay the price. Be strong. Don't be defeated by them. I slowly cheered myself up in my heart, but my mood was still very low. Many things. Once you get over the hurdle in your heart, you will gradually stop caring. Don't think so much. You're already doing great now. Leave the rest to me. Okay? You don't have to force yourself. You can completely rely on me. Cedric seemed to see through my reluctance. Hearing his words, my heart was filled with so much emotion that it finally turned into tears that wet his shoulder. I followed Cedric's advice and stopped paying attention to this matter, slowly adjusting my mood. Now I spend my days planting flowers and playing with the dog in the villa, feeling somewhat carefree. But there's always a feeling of pent-up anger in my heart and I can't seem to relieve. Although Cedric has already suppressed the online news for me and cut off the funds for Damon's company, leaving him on the verge of bankruptcy. As for Violet, with just a little digging, countless pieces of negative information about her can be found. Without even having to do anything, the things she has done herself are enough to ruin her reputation. Just when I was feeling annoyed, Damon appeared in front of me again. But this time, Damon was in a sorry state. Looking haggard, there was an indescribable look of regret in his eyes when he looked at me. Could it be that he came to beg me to ask Cedric to spare him? I didn't even want to give him a glance. But he stubbornly blocked my way. Aurora, do you really think that someone as excellent as Cedric can't really accept you? Stop daydreaming. Even if he can accept you, what about the big family behind him? People from such prominent families care most about their reputation. Who would want a woman who has been defiled? I advise you to turn back as soon as possible. If you come back and beg me now, I can still forgive you. Otherwise, I won't care about you at all if you're abandoned and in the future. Hearing Damon's words, my anger welled up. I stepped forward and grabbed his hair fiercely, slapping his face several times. Soon, let out a low sigh. Clear handprints appeared on Damon's face. But I still didn't feel satisfied. When I stopped, Damon suddenly knelt in front of me. Aurora, keep hitting me. Only when you hit me will I feel better. I was out of my mind before and chose to hurt you in that way. I really regret it. Hit me some more. After you hit me. Can you forgive me? I'm a bastard. I deserve to die. Damon became more and more excited as he spoke, and he raised his hand and kept slapping himself. Looking at his current appearance, I just found it ridiculous. I calmly watched him go crazy. Besides hatred, there were no other emotions in my heart. No, there was also disgust. Damon, I've never thought you were as disgusting as you are now. If you have any conscience left, disappear from my sight immediately. After saying these harsh words, I pointed to the door and told Damon to get out. Damon seemed to be in even more pain after hearing my words. Aurora. I had no choice. There will always be a place for you with me. Ugh. So disgusting. I spat at Damon. My remaining sense of propriety could no longer tolerate Damon acting arrogantly in front of me. At this moment, Violet somehow appeared and saw me spitting at Damon. You bitch. You're bullying Damon. I'll make you pay. After saying that, she pounced on me like a mad dog. I wasn't paying attention for a moment. After being directly bumped into by Violet, I lost my balance and hit the wall. My head ached even more. I didn't know what was wrong with the security today. These people who came out of nowhere kept getting close to me. If someone hits me, I will definitely fight back. Otherwise, I'll just feel frustrated and angry. Soon I rolled up my sleeves and started grappling with Violet. Because Cedric had specifically taken me to learn self-defense before, my physique was much better than Violet's. Soon it became a one-sided beating of Violet by me. And Violet fell to the ground, covering her head with both hands. Damon. Save me. Aurora is going to kill me. She's a lunatic. After hearing what she said, I hit her even harder. Soon Violet's face swelled up like a pig's head. I was so focused on hitting Violet that I didn't realize that Damon was quietly approaching me. Suddenly, I felt my mouth and nose being covered, and I immediately felt weak all over. I turned around and saw that Damon was covering my mouth with a cloth, and there was obvious madness in his eyes. Soon everyone in the world will know that you belong to me alone. Aurora. After this, I'll make sure you can't leave me for the rest of your life. Hearing his words, I felt a sense of fear. I tried my best to stay awake and see where Damon was going to take me. But my consciousness was gradually fading. And finally, I fell into a deep coma. Now I can only pin my last hope on Cedric. Fortunately, heading fulfilledly, he makes time to come and see me every day. If he finds that I'm missing, he will definitely send someone to look for me. When I woke up again and looked at the unfamiliar surroundings, it was a very empty and monotonous hall. It was dark all around, and I couldn't help but frown. I was calculating in my heart how I could save myself. Just as I was about to move, I found that my hands and feet were handcuffed with iron chains. Even the slightest movement would make the wounds ache from the friction. Let me out! Let me out! I shouted loudly and desperately. But I didn't hear anyone respond to me. All I could hear was my own echo. I guessed that this place should be in the suburbs. Before Cedric found me, I had to stay calm. I kept praying in my heart for Cedric to come and save me quickly. Suddenly, the door of the room opened, and Damon walked towards me carrying all kinds of things in his hand, and there was a satisfied smile on his face. Aurora, you're awake. I brought you a lot of the things you like to eat. There are roasted sweet potatoes from East Street and corn paste from West City. You used to keep nagging in my ear about wanting to eat them. I was always too busy to take you. Now I have enough time. I will complete one by one the things I promised you but didn't do before. So, are you looking forward to the days ahead? I just realized that as long as I can stay in the same space as you, I will feel extremely happy. Aurora. My heart and my body are all telling me that they are deeply in love with you. Ugh. I couldn't help feeling nauseous when I heard Damon's words. I leaned over and kept retching. Damon's face changed. After a while, he poured water for me to drink. Here. Drink some water to soothe your throat. He also wanted to pat my back, but I immediately moved away out of reflex. And the iron chains on my hands and feet left big marks on my wrists and ankles because the force was too great. I bit my lip tightly and didn't make any sound. When Damon saw that I was determined to leave his side, a look of hurt flashed across his face. Soon he showed a self-comforting smile again. Okay. I won't touch you. Just drink some water and eat something. Or your body won't be able to take it. This time, after Damon arranged the things, he kept a certain distance from me. The vigilance in my heart slowly relaxed. My body is really weak now. And I can't not eat. Otherwise my body won't be able to hold on. I picked up the porridge and slowly took a few sips. I felt that my body was indeed gradually recovering a little. Seeing this, a smile reappeared on Damon's face. But seeing my distant expression, he never dared to take a step forward. Damon, you're committing a crime now. Sooner or later, you'll end up in prison. Aren't you afraid? Not afraid. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession, I have nothing left now. This is the time to enjoy myself. After cleaning up the food, Damon waved his hand and smiled bitterly. I just want to cherish the time with you. Even though I know you don't love me anymore, I still want to possess you. Seeing that I didn't speak, Damon turned on the projector and played my favorite movie, Titanic. Let's start by watching a movie with you. Aurora, can I talk to you? I promise I won't hurt you during this time. Damon pleaded humbly. I really don't understand what kind of act you're putting on. You pretend to be affectionate and suffering in front of me. But you hurt me badly for Violet. Are you doing this to satisfy your vulgar taste? If so, you're really despicable. Damon, you're a selfish and mean person. Someone like you doesn't deserve happiness. I cursed viciously. Seeing him doing the things that I had long yearned for him to do with me before, I not only didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness but also felt extremely disgusted. I'm thoroughly disgusted by his complete hypocrisy. I've never thought I was wrong about the things with Violet. She is the daughter of my esteemed teacher, and I can tow her any favors. In case I'm sorry to her, the balance in my heart will gradually tip. If she asks me to marry her, I won't be able to refuse. After all, the kindness her father showed me is greater than anything. Without her father's help, I wouldn't be who I am today. But you're different. Aurora, you're the only one in my heart. I can owe you many promises for now and make them up to you slowly when I have time in the future. I was almost laughed at by Damon's words. Forget it. I don't want to talk about these useless topics with you. Let's not mention the past anymore. Cedric will find me soon. And then we'll have nothing to do with each other completely. You'd better do what you say. If you dare to hurt me even a little bit, I will make you pay a heavy price. Although my tone was very tough, I didn't have any confidence in my heart. Because I'm at the mercy of others now. And the only thing I can bet on is Damon's guilt towards me. Damon's face twisted at once. Why do you believe in Cedric so much? He's just a hypocrite. If you hadn't married me early, he would have already made a move on you. Most of the things that happened back then were caused by me offending people. But Cedric is also involved. Because he was the one who led the way in that business deal. He planned everything. After you were hurt, he came to you more than once wanting to take responsibility for you. But I drove him away. He clearly had ulterior motives. You had nothing to do with him. Yet he shamelessly came to you wanting to take responsibility. I even suspect that he deliberately designed that accident so that he could have you. Hypocrite. Shut up. You're not worthy of scolding Cedric. I shouted at Damon. Cedric is not the kind of person he described. Sure enough, a person with a dirty heart will describe everything as dirty. I really admire Damon's psychological abnormality. He can always find a reason to excuse himself for everything. Damon was stunned for a moment after I shouted at him. Soon he gave a bitter smile. I'm telling the truth. You wouldn't have interrupted me like this before. And you know that's the past. Now I only feel disgusted when I see you. So can you put away that affectionate look of yours? Aren't you going to marry Violet? But I didn't say the latter half of the sentence. I was afraid that if I said it, he would misunderstand that I still had feelings for him. Damon looked as if he wanted to say something but held back. He tried to play the role of a pitiful person in front of me. But I chose to turn a blind eye. He still wanted to say something. But his phone rang. He took out his phone and looked at it. He also subconsciously glanced at me. Seeing that I didn't have any reaction, he picked up the phone and went out to answer it. I didn't even need to think to know that it must be Violet calling him. I wasn't interested in listening to their lovey-dovey conversation. I just wanted to leave this suffocating place immediately. I took a few steps forward slowly and heard Damon's impatient tone. Violet, how many times do I have to tell you? I won't marry you. I only promised to do those things before because I was afraid you would pester me. If you force me again, don't blame me for going all out. I couldn't hear Violet's voice on the other end, but I guessed she was probably still pretending to be pitiful. Damon, I'm thirsty. Pour me some water. I shouted loudly towards the door. Okay. Wait for me. Soon Damon came in and poured water for me. After pretending to drink a few sips of water, I pretended to be sleepy. Damon immediately understood and helped me make the bed. Just now it was. I'm not interested in knowing about your personal affairs. I directly refused to communicate. In the past, I always wanted to know what Damon did every day and who he was with. Because I was extremely insecure at that time and wanted to make myself feel more at ease by understanding his life. But every time I asked Damon with great interest, he would just perfunctorily say a few words and then stop talking. He would always answer the phone while hiding from me, which made me feel very uneasy. When I asked to see his phone, he would lose his temper and say that I was a control freak and didn't leave him any personal space. We had a fierce argument about this. Later, he made a concession and would answer the phone in front of me every time. It was from that time that Violet seeped into our lives like a slow poison. Every time Violet had something wrong, Damon would always leave me behind immediately and rush to solve the problem for Violet. Later, I was afraid that he would abandon me for Violet. So I kept making concessions. And in the end, I ended up being raped and killed. This is all the work of this despicable couple. Fortunately, having fulfilled land set in this life, it's not too late. I won't be as stupid as I was in my previous life. I calculated the time. Violet should be here soon. Sure enough, after a while, I heard a violent knock on the door and Violet's angry voice. An impatient expression immediately appeared on my face. Sorry. I didn't know she would come. I'll drive her away right now. No one can disturb our two-person world. I ignored Damon's words. But I couldn't help but complain in my heart. Damn the two-person world. After Damon left, I tried to find the key in the room. The first thing I needed to do to leave was to gain my freedom. But I searched every corner of the room and couldn't find the key. Finally, having fulfilled my affair, I gave up. It seemed that he didn't put the key in the room. Thinking that I could only be locked in the room, my heart was filled with extreme annoyance. After a while, the door opened, and Damon and Violet came in together. Violet's face had regained its vitality. When she saw me, there was a spark of jealousy in her eyes. If Damon wasn't by her side, she would definitely pounce on me and devour me alive. But now she looked completely like an innocent little flower. Sister Aurora, I'll untie you right now. Damon really doesn't know how to be gentle with women. How could he lock you up with such a big dog chain? You're a human being, not a dog he keeps. It's really too much. Sister Aurora, don't be angry with Damon. I'll teach him a lesson in the future. Okay. I agreed immediately. Violet changed her expression and came over to unlock the iron chains for me. She never expected that I wouldn't quarrel with her, which made her a little uncomfortable. Thanks to you for clarifying things for me and diverting the public's attention. I can live a stable life now. Thank you so much. Sister Aurora. Violet. Your face is still as thick-skinned as ever. Indeed. If a person is despicable enough, the words they say are just as despicable as they are. In the face of my change, anger immediately appeared on Violet's face. I saw her pinching her own thigh hard. After holding it back for a while, she said in a cocoa-sized voice, "Woohoo! I was being ignorant before and tried to ruin your relationship. But now I've seen the light. I'll go and find my own happiness and also wish you too well. So, Sister Aurora, could you and Damon fulfill a small request of mine?" Seeing that I didn't say anything, Damon spoke up first. "Sure. Go ahead. As long as it's something I can do, we'll do our best. Actually, I already have someone I like, but my family doesn't approve of us being together because he has been in prison before," Violet said with a dejected look. "But I really like him and don't want to be separated from him." I want Aurora to ask President Cedric to recognize him as his cousin. With Cedric's connections, my boyfriend's status will gradually be elevated. And my family won't stop us from being together anymore." After Violet finished speaking, there was still a shy expression on her face. I don't agree. Although I didn't know what she was up to, I knew it definitely wasn't anything good. "What makes you think you're qualified to ask me for help? You really have a lot of nerve. Sister Aurora, how can you say that? Do you know that he went to prison because he accidentally killed someone while trying to save a person who was being raped? So what does that have to do with us? You've both been victims. How can you have no compassion at all?" Woohoo. Violet started crying again out of desperation. Damon clearly felt a bit sorry for her and wanted to comfort her. But he didn't dare to act. I was too lazy to watch their act. "Fine. Then give me the phone. I'll contact Cedric." But this was also a good opportunity to get in touch with Cedric. "Sister Aurora, I knew you'd definitely agree. After all, only those who had experienced something like that know how desperate it can be." Violet brought up the matter of me being hurt again and again, which was like reopening my wounds. Although I cared a lot in my heart, I wouldn't show any emotions. Just as I was about to get the phone, Damon snatched it away. "No. If Aurora gets in touch with Cedric, then I'll lose Aurora completely. This is the safest place now, and I won't allow anyone to ruin my happiness." Damon started acting crazy, and I just felt a headache coming on. However, Violet left the phone with me and dragged Damon out in a hurry. I didn't think too much about it and immediately picked up the phone to contact Cedric. After dialing the number and hearing Cedric's voice, my tense heart suddenly calmed down. Soon, let out a low sigh. I heard Cedric asking someone to trace my specific location through the phone number. "Aurora, don't be afraid. I'll come to pick you up and take you home right away." "Okay. I'll wait for you." I told Cedric about my situation and assured him that I hadn't been hurt at all. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. After a while, Damon and Violet came in again. I reluctantly hung up the phone and also noticed that Damon had a rather solemn expression on his face. On the contrary, Violet had a smile on her face. I felt something was off and watched them warily. But I couldn't find anything wrong. Until I saw the person behind them. I instantly felt the hair on my body stand on end. That person was Violet's younger brother. He was also the one who raped and killed me in my previous life. In my previous life, Violet tricked me into going to play an escape room game and deliberately locked me in a compartment and let the NPC rape me. And Violet had already installed surveillance in the room and started a live stream to share the process of me being raped and killed. In the end, I died. And Violet faked the scene of playing the game to help the NPC escape punishment. I was dumped in the wilderness and finally died wronged. It was only at the very end that I saw the face of the NPC. And it turned out to be Violet's own younger brother. In my previous life, I only knew that Violet's younger brother had been in prison, and that their family didn't acknowledge him. But Violet secretly took good care of her younger brother. As long as Violet shed a few tears in front of her younger brother, he would immediately avenge her. Violet is really a vicious woman who is good at cultivating tools for herself. With a handy tool, she can get twice the result with half the effort in everything she does. This time, her younger brother suddenly appeared here. Judging by Violet's usual behavior, she was definitely going to use the same old trick again. I still haven't figured out why she's so eager to ruin me now. But since I know what she's going to do, I'll definitely be more on my guard. In this life, I will never let them succeed. Everyone who has hurt me will pay the price one by one. Violet's younger brother walked up to me with a smile. "Hello. I'm Violet's lover. Blaze. Nice to meet you." I was a bit shaken by his intense gaze but still tried to act calm. When he saw that I didn't reach out to shake his hand for a long time, a fierce look flashed across his face but quickly turned back into a smile. "Okay. We've greeted each other. Now we're just waiting for President Cedric to arrive. You have to perform well then. Whether President Cedric will agree to recognize you as his cousin depends on this." Violet came over and pulled Blaze's hand back, and the two of them exchanged a look. I observed my surroundings keenly and indeed suddenly found a lot of cameras. At this time, Damon coughed and said, "Actually, I planned to build a large amusement park here before. But I just couldn't find a developer to cooperate with. Violet. Haven't you always been annoyed by me pestering you every day? As long as you can get President Cedric to invest in my amusement park today, I'll never pester you again. You know that all my businesses have been blocked by Cedric. And now they're completely finished. I'm counting on this business to make a living now. Could you please fulfill this small request of mine? Damon spoke sincerely and his tone was even more humble. I pretended not to see their expectant looks. Sure. But I have a request, that is, to wait for Cedric to come and participate together. They all agreed. Since they want to play, I'll accompany them to the end and see who will be the one to ruin the other first. Sure enough. Violet made the same request as in the previous life. To play the escape room game. Every NPC in the escape room wore a mask and the same kind of clothes. In the dark environment, no one could tell who they were. I found that Blaze had disappeared. I guessed that he had been arranged in a certain room by Violet. And Violet took out her phone early. Sister Aurora. You don't mind if I start a live stream, do you? It's also for the good of the amusement park. I want more people to see how fun this amusement park is. After Violet finished speaking, she pointed the camera at me. Hello, everyone. Let me introduce today's beautiful lady, Aurora. She's really good at playing the escape room game. Where is the host playing? Judging by the environment, it shouldn't be in the country. But it really has the atmosphere of an escape room. It feels so realistic. Could you introduce the script? The script is the first half of Red Knight. I believe everyone has seen it. This beautiful sister is the protagonist. And the plot is 100 restored. I checked and found that there were quite a lot of viewers. Violet causes trouble every day. And unexpectedly, she has found the code to attract traffic and has even become a somewhat popular online celebrity. The comments were all expressing anticipation. When Cedric arrived, Violet instinctively wanted to take a photo, but was deterred by a single look from Cedric. Cedric came over and checked if I was hurt. After examining me carefully for a while and seeing that I was okay, he felt relieved. I whispered my plan to him. Although Cedric was worried, he still chose to cooperate with me. Before, I was afraid that I couldn't handle those people on my own. But now that Cedric was here, I suddenly felt full of confidence. After getting the character mission, I was the only one to do the side mission, which was to sit in the room and wait for the young master to come and pick me up. During the waiting process, Cedric quietly had someone take me out through the side door and to the knocked out Violet onto the bed. Naturally, having fulfilled my adventure, Cedric and I didn't have the mood to play the escape room with them. So we went out early to keep an eye on the live stream. At this moment, Damon was looking worriedly at the person playing Violet and said, "Are you sure your younger brother will just defeat Aurora and won't do anything to hurt her? And you must censor Aurora in the video you record. I'm afraid she'll be hurt again." The main purpose of what we're doing this time is to make Cedric completely abandon Aurora. Only in this way can Aurora come back to me forever. Seeing Violet nod, Damon let out a slight sigh of relief. But Damon had no idea that the words he just said had been live-streamed online. What a despicable man. He really resorts to any means to achieve his goals. He can even do such despicable things. Can we call the police? This is a blatant conspiracy. What's the use of calling the police? Those people in there are all capitalists. What do you think the police can do to them? Yeah. Just treat it as a thrill and forget about it. Maybe this is just part of the script. It sounds quite exciting when you think about it. The comments were chatting aimlessly. And no one mentioned calling the police again. When I saw Violet's younger brother Blaze come out, I immediately sent the live stream to Violet's family. Wow. Is this seductive scream something I'm allowed to hear? The two people behind the curtain are really intense. Rich people really know how to have fun. We're just part of their game. If I'm not mistaken, the person inside should be Aurora. Right? She had the reputation of a social butterfly before. I didn't expect her to be so promiscuous in private. It's her. Hello, everyone. I'm Aurora. The person inside isn't me. I greeted the camera openly. The live stream room was in chaos. And everyone was guessing who the person inside was. Some people even started offering a large sum of money, as a reward for someone present to take a clearer video. Besides Violet's younger brother Blaze, I also invited Violet's ex-boyfriend. That noble Sly. Since the incident between him and Violet was exposed, no one was willing to do business with him anymore. He could only live by picking up trash every day and had long harbored hatred towards Violet in his heart. And I had been quietly keeping an eye on his movements, deliberately providing him with Violet's whereabouts. When necessary, I also provided him with the necessary help so that he could easily find Violet. When Blaze was done and wanted to kill Violet, Sly immediately stepped in to stop him. "You don't need to do it. I'll take care of it. I have AIDS. As long as she has sex with me, her whole life will be ruined. She won't be able to cause trouble anymore." Blaze gave him a thumbs up and agreed to Sly's request to record a video of them. I really admire Sly's courage to go all out. But this is also because Violet has done so many evil things in her daily life that she has brought about her own downfall. However, that Blaze is also a fool. After filming for so long, he still didn't realize that the person under him was his own sister. Soon the live broadcast room was blocked, but I knew that Violet's affair would spread to various websites. Her face would soon be known and discussed by the public. Just thinking about her future outcome makes me feel extremely pleased. "Shall we go and celebrate?" Cedric suggested. I nodded, took his hand, and set off on the way back. I just realized that Damon had taken me to a deserted island. No wonder Cedric hadn't found me after searching for so long. I had never been here in my previous life. And I didn't know that Damon actually had such a hidden property. I always thought that I knew Damon like the back of my hand and could even control his actions. Thinking about it now, I'm still a bit scared. Fortunately, having fulfilled Wyatt's sigh, Damon is stupid and didn't plan to imprison me for a lifetime. Instead, he chose Violet's suggestion to ruin me so that I could only stay by his side. Damon received a call from his esteemed teacher, asking him to go and save Violet immediately. Damon was confused. Violet should still be doing the live broadcast. How could she be in danger? Could it be that Blaze had done something to Aurora? Thinking of this possibility, Damon couldn't help but quicken his pace. He just wanted everyone to spurn Aurora. Only in this way could her Aurora truly belong to him. But he didn't want her Aurora to be hurt in any way at all. After all, she was the person he loved the most. He would feel heartbroken if she was hurt in any way. Thinking of this, he quickened his pace even more. He had never met Blaze, but he had heard about Blaze from Violet. Violet often told him that Blaze was a crazy person who always did all kinds of illegal things in pursuit of excitement. He also participated in this operation because he thought it was exciting. Just hearing Violet say that, he thought Blaze was unreliable and might have already laid hands on her or in pursuit of excitement. Damon came outside the compartment, listening to the intense screams in the room. His fists couldn't help but clench. His heart ached terribly. But in order to completely possess Aurora, he had to do this. Because he found that now there was no place for him in Aurora's eyes or heart at all. It was he who had lost the Aurora who had been filled with him in her heart and eyes. So all of this was something he deserved to bear. He secretly swore in his heart that as long as he got through tonight, he would definitely treat her Aurora even better. Stay by her side all the time. And never leave her. He would accompany her to heal her wounds slowly and gradually return to the sunny girl she used to be. He believed that as long as he was attentive enough, they would definitely return to the way they used to be. After all, Aurora was a soft-hearted person. As long as he pretended to be pitiful, she would shed precious tears. The sounds inside didn't stop for a long time, and Damon's tears streamed down his face. He really regretted his decision at that moment, but since he had taken this step, there was no turning back. Enough. Stop. Stop. I'm going to kill you all. Finally, Damon couldn't bear it anymore. He kicked open the door, grabbed Blaze's collar, and wanted to attack him. Blaze was no pushover either. He quickly pinned Damon to the ground and overpowered him. Damon stared at the two people in the room with wide eyes. "You're really beasts. How could you do such a thing to Aurora?" "Aurora. My Aurora." Damon quickly got up to see how Aurora was. When Sly saw him going crazy like this, he felt a bit sorry. "You've got the wrong person. There's no Aurora as you said here." This bitch is called Violet. You can go and look somewhere else. What? Upon hearing Sly's words, Blaze immediately turned on the light on his phone. Sure enough, it was his sister being pinned down by Sly. There were bruises all over her face, and blood was oozing from her lower body. There were marks from his actions, and also from Sly's actions. Ah! Blaze went completely crazy. He had actually had a sexual relationship with his own sister. Even though he had a rather unconventional taste, he couldn't accept such a relationship, especially since they had just been late broadcasting in front of the whole nation. The moment Damon saw that it was Violet, a look of relief appeared on his face. Fortunately, it's not Aurora. Fortunately, having fulfilled my anxiety, it's not Aurora. For a moment, the whole secret room was in chaos. Hai Chang. After a period of time, I finally saw the news about Violet and the others in the news. The Violet family showed great righteousness and sent Blaze to prison directly. And no one reported on Sly's whereabouts. Some people suspected that Sly had already been dealt with. As for Violet, she spent the rest of her life in a low mood. Now she has not only lost face but also all her dignity. Moreover, she was infected with AIDS and would be spurned by people for the rest of her life. She would never be able to hold her head up and face her future life. Now she really wants to end her own life. But when it comes to actually doing it, she doesn't have the courage. She can only blame her situation on Damon. The Violet family also began to put pressure on Damon, forcing him to marry Violet. Damon took on his own responsibility and announced in front of the public media that he would marry Violet as his wife. However, he didn't receive a single word of praise. Everyone was saying that they were a perfect match, and the scumbag man and a despicable woman should be tied together forever. I watched the comments with great interest, while Cedric was feeding me fruits beside me. Aurora, I think all your problems should be solved now. Will you marry me? Facing Cedric's sudden proposal, I was a bit taken aback. Why are you proposing to me all of a sudden? Do your family members know about this? Do they know about my past? I'm afraid they won't accept my identity. After all, for someone like you, your family relationships should be very complicated. I don't want to put you in a difficult position. I think it's quite good for us to maintain our current relationship. I became more and more excited as I spoke. Or do you not want to continue our ambiguous relationship and want to break up? Stop. 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 Cedric helplessly tapped my nose. You're getting more and more outrageous. I'm already 30 years old. If I don't get married, my family will gossip about me. Besides, I've already introduced you to my parents. They are very satisfied with you. The problems you're worried about don't exist at all. My family members all like you very much. Moreover, don't you think that since your husband has already achieved so much, I should be able to make my own decisions about my marriage? Finally, hadn't fulfilled why I'm sorry, Cedric said with a bit of arrogance. He clearly said he was almost 30 years old. But now he looks like a young boy who has just grown up. However, after listening to Cedric's explanation, I felt much more at ease. I was also deeply touched. I never expected that Cedric had made so many efforts for me secretly. Thank you. You've worked so hard. I expressed my gratitude. Cedric lowered his head and kissed my forehead. What silly words are you saying? They agreed because you're excellent enough. I just showed them your photos. And they thought you were a perfect match and even praised my good taste. You have a sweet tongue. How can I marry a wife if I don't have a sweet tongue? Cedric said proudly. As a reward, I pulled him down and kissed his lips deeply. This 30-year-old man is really charming and seduces me all the time. I think today is a great day for celebration. How about doing something more meaningful? I invited him. Cedric immediately understood my signal. His face turned red at once. Then you have to treat me gently. After all, this is my first time, and I don't have much experience. Before he could finish, I kissed him and his words were swallowed up. The whole room was filled with ambiguous sounds. Sure enough, men seem to know these things instinctively. When I woke up again, Cedric had already cooked porridge for me and brought it over to feed me. He also thoughtfully placed a soft pillow behind my back. A man who pays attention to details is really attractive to me. I couldn't help but want to kiss him. As long as our eyes met, we would immediately kiss passionately. Cedric and I are a perfect match both in life and spiritually. It's very comfortable to be with him. And I really enjoy the current state. Many of my girlfriends said that I look much better and asked me for tips on how to take care of my skin. But I couldn't really say anything specific at that moment. After all, I didn't pay special attention to skincare. It's just because I have Cedric by my side. However, I still shared the skincare products that Cedric usually bought for me. Soon many people expressed their envy. It didn't take long for Cedric to take me home to meet his parents. Sure enough, Cedric's father and mother were just as Cedric had described. They were very easy to get along with. They kept telling me that if Cedric bullied me, I must complain to them. And they would teach Cedric a good lesson for me. I immediately nodded with a smile, but I told them that Cedric took very good care of me and had never bullied me. Seeing that the two of us got along so harmoniously, they felt even more at ease. They immediately asked Cedric to arrange a meeting between the parents of the two families and choose a good day for our marriage as soon as possible. The meeting between the parents of both sides went smoothly, and the date for the wedding was quickly set. Cedric and I didn't have to do anything. Our family members prepared everything we needed for us. I never thought that getting married could be so easy. When I had my wedding with Damon before, I did everything by myself. The only part Damon participated in was being the groom. I used to understand very well that he was busy, so I took the initiative to take on all the tasks. After the wedding, I was almost exhausted. But Damon thought I was pretending to be pitiful to win his sympathy. He didn't understand my hard work at all, and just thought that everything I did was something I should do. Looking back now, it must be that he didn't love me enough. Otherwise, how could he bear to let the person he loved work so hard? Now, Cedric and I understand each other, and neither of us wants the other to suffer. Fortunately, having fulfilled Lay and Sai, we have enough life experience and have passed the age of enduring hardships. So Cedric takes a little more care of me. Now, the two of us just need to attend the wedding. This was a wedding blessed by many people and was held in an extremely grand manner. Cedric even specifically had someone keep an eye on Damon, for fear that he would come and ruin our wedding. If Cedric hadn't mentioned Damon, I would have almost forgotten about his existence. I'm not worried at all that Damon will ruin our wedding because he's already in too much trouble to take care of himself. How could he have the extra energy to do something that's thankless? Damon is actually a person who knows very well how to judge the situation. The wedding went smoothly, and Damon didn't show up in the end. However, I received an anonymous blessing text message at the wedding venue. Pop. I turned on the living room light. But however, I still underestimated Damon's ability to be despicable. He actually stood at the front of the wedding motorcade and blocked the car. Aurora. I'm sorry. I remember everything. I really deserve to die for making you suffer so much. I'm sorry. Aurora. I'm really sorry. I don't deserve your kindness. I really love you so much. Let's meet again in the next life. After saying that, he actually rushed straight towards the car, but was kicked away by Cedric. Get out of here. Don't come here and cause trouble. Having someone like you in Aurora's life is simply a stain on her life. Damon was kicked so hard that he spat out blood and mumbled words of regret in a delirious way. Fortunately you're back. Fortunately, the person by your side is no longer me. I watched Damon's performance coldly all the time. In the end, I saw Violet stab Damon with a dagger. Soon Damon fell to the ground. You deserve to die. I paid such a high price for you. But you still can't forget that bitch. You really deserve to die. You really deserve to die. After saying that, she didn't forget to stab Damon again. Soon Damon died on the spot, and Violet was taken away by the police. But it was found that she was mentally ill, and she wasn't sentenced to any punishment. But the Violet family has completely given up taking care of Violet. After throwing her in a mental hospital, they no longer cared about her. Violet wasn't safe in the mental hospital either. She crazily claimed that she was an AIDS patient, and she even cut her own wounds, making the blood flow everywhere, trying to infect more people. No mental hospital was willing to accept Violet. In the end, Violet ended up on the streets. Every time she saw someone, She tried to infect them. She was quietly dealt with one late night. There is finally one less scourge in this world. And the world has become a little more peaceful. Cedric still felt annoyed about Damon ruining and wanted to hold the wedding again. But I turned down his proposal. Because my current physical condition is not suitable for being too tired. After all, I'm pregnant and need to rest quietly. When Cedric heard this news, he was so excited that he jumped around like a child. From then on, his daily task was to take care of me and the baby. And he would always fulfill my requests. Even if I wanted the stars in the sky, he would immediately contact the space agency without hesitation. Buy a satellite. And give it to me named after me. Cedric's love and pampering for me can't be summed up just by words. It's also reflected in every detail of our life. As long as I mention something, whether I mean it or not, he will take action to respond. From the day I met him until now, he has never changed. I have also always asked him why he treats me so well. He said that on the day he was 18. I amazed him throughout the whole summer. And later he planned every day how to treat me well. I didn't expect that he had a crush on me for so long and was so dedicated. Fortunately, having fulfilled Lee. In this life, I met Cedric and started another happy life of my own. Every moment with Cedric is filled with happiness.